All right, if everyone can just react with a thumbs up if they are good to go with the mentee. All right, I think we're good to go. So we've got 5 questions for you. All right. I love all of the different little avatars we've got tonight. And there are points to this, but there's really no right or wrong answer to any of these questions except for one. So first off, where is everybody calling in from tonight? So like I mentioned before, I am calling in from Nashville, Tennessee. And Hannah is calling in from the West Coast, I think.
I'm in Denver, Colorado. So kind of West Coast, Midwest-ish.
You're west of me, so I was sort of correct there.
Yeah.
We allowed to talk?
All right. Yeah. So it says that there's a lot of wrong answers, but that's not true. Um, awesome. We've got a wide range. I love to see that. A lot of people in Virginia, some people in California, Philippines, Maine. If you're from Maine, you're close to where our conference is going to be this year. A lot of people in Washington. That's awesome. All right. What is one thing you'd like to get out of mentoring? And again, there's no correct answer here. Yeah. Learn from each other, supporting each other, the opportunity to inspire a GIS professional. I love that. Helping people, career advice, guidance, GIS buddy. Yeah, for sure. These are all things that I have found that I've gotten out of this. It's definitely amazing to talk to someone else that's equally passionate about GIS. And even as a mentor, you can learn a lot from your mentee. Anything and everything. I love that. Help someone with their career. Yeah, I love that. Communication skills, GISP prep. These are all things that we touch on in this program. And your mentorship relationship can be whatever you want it to be. What are the things that you're most nervous about with starting the mentoring program? Not knowing how often to meet. Yes, we're going to talk about that. Coordinating the first call, we're going to talk about that. As far as being too technical goes, it never hurts to ask. Even someone who's been in GIS forever may not know your specific process. What to ask the mentor, we'll talk about that. Having enough time to do stuff, very valid. Missing meetings, we can talk about that as well. Structuring calls, we'll talk about that. Not having a good enough background in GIS. If you're interested, that's all you need. Feeling overbearing on my mentor, not getting enough in, we'll talk about that as well. Yeah, and any of these concerns, if we don't touch on them today, don't hesitate to reach out. Like Kendall, who just said, feel free to chime in at any point with any questions or comments. It'll probably be easier if you chime in the chat, just because of the audio with the recording, but don't hesitate. So yeah, these are some great things, and not having enough experience, that is a valid concern. And if you don't have enough experience, you might know someone who has more information or have an idea of where to find an answer. So there's no expectation of perfection in the mentorship program. So I think we'll go ahead and go to our next question. Where in the world would you most like to study with GIS? So your ideal study area, where would that be? If you could find data for anywhere, if the data existed, where would you like to study?
I can't access the question.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. If you want to chime in with your answers in the chat, you can do that. Because sometimes Minty is a little difficult. It was kicking me off right before this started, so I understand. All right, let's see what people said. The Netherlands, yes, I would love that.
Okay, it looks like it didn't record any answers for that one, so I'm
Yeah,
skipping.
that,
the
that
next
sounds
question.
about right. So
Okay.
yeah, Minty is not always working, but when it works, it's great. So we'll just, if it doesn't work, just chime in the chat. We'll make the best of it. All right. Southern California, love that. For me, it would definitely be Antarctica. I would like to do remote sensing of the penguins. All right, and this one does have a correct answer. Where is GIS Pro this year? It is in fact in Portland. I accidentally revealed that earlier. So if you were listening, I gave you a very good hint. Yeah, I know everybody's really excited. Portland's an amazing city. All right. Last but not least, what is the estimated time commitment for mentoring? Yes, so we encourage 2 to 5 hours a month, but honestly, your mentoring relationship is whatever you and your mentor mentee want to make it. So as long as you agree upon equal expectations that you're both happy with, it can be whatever it needs to be. But we found that 2 to 5 hours a month works best for most partnerships. So that is the end of our little icebreaker questions. We hope that that was fun and helpful. And we're definitely going to touch on a lot of those concepts in the slides. So what is the mentorship program all about? So the mentorship network is designed to connect GIS people around the world to help build our community atmosphere of collaboration and encouragement. So the GIS community as a whole is one of the friendliest professional communities I've seen. And that's something that we're very proud of and we want to encourage. And we really want to foster that next generation of GIS professionals. But no matter no matter what your age is, you can definitely benefit from being a mentee or a mentor. It's just to foster collaboration. And as you can see here, this is a little bit outdated from, I think, a couple cohorts ago, but we have definitely had international participation, which is something that we're really excited about and we're really hoping to encourage as more cohorts go on. And I've noticed, as I've worked with multiple cohorts now, that we are getting more international applicants to our mentor and mentee slots, which is really exciting for us. So if we go on to the next slide, please. And so here is our mentorship team within the Vanguard cabinet. So you have myself, you have Hannah, and you have so many other amazing people that are just very passionate about GIS and about mentorship as a whole. So if you ever have a question about mentorship, a question about GIS, or just see one of these lovely people around, don't hesitate to reach out. Everyone on the cabinet is incredible and would love to talk to you about GIS. So here we go. This is the very fun logistical slide of what the expectations for the program are. Excuse me. First off, we expect this program to be fun. We want it to be informative. We want to help you and we want you to enjoy your experience. This is a great way to discuss career goals, your objectives, and ways to go about achieving those. But at the same time, this is not a place to this is not a place where mentors are expected to hire their mentees or provide access to software or technical training. This is a place of encouragement. So if you have any questions about specifics of that, don't hesitate to reach out. But remember, it's a place to foster encouragement and collaboration and professional growth. Next slide, please. And so here is a sample timeline. This cohort goes until October 31st. And so here's a little bit of a timeline that you may follow. So this first week, so like right now, over the next couple weeks, you've attended this meeting, you're already ahead of the game. But this is a great time to establish connection. So if that's an introductory email, that's great. So send an email, set up a quick meeting to get to know your mentor or your mentee. Figure out what their broad interests are, what their preferred method of communication is, and their schedule, and go ahead and set up that next meeting. And that leads us to the second week. That's a great time to discuss your specific goals for the cohorts. So for mentees, what are you hoping to learn? It's kind of helpful to think of maybe 3 things that you really want to get out of this. So for me, when I was a mentee, I wanted to work on my resume. I wanted to work on my networking skills. I was very overwhelmed with the idea of networking, and I wanted to work on some cover letters. And so those were 3 very tangible things to work on with my mentor, and that gave us a good framework to schedule the rest of our calls. Mentors, what can you offer? What are things that you're really passionate about? What interests of your mentees can you connect with? Where do you think you can help them? And it's just a really good idea to kind of set up that initial framework so you can make sure your time is productive moving forward. And this is also a great time to discuss your meeting schedule, which I alluded to a little bit before. How will you meet? Email, Zoom, FaceTime? What interval would you like to meet? Weekly, biweekly? Again, this is going to depend on you and your mentor mentee. In the past, we've encouraged people to meet every other week or once a month. And so we found that those timelines work fairly well. Next slide, please. And this leads us into the first month. So after that initial logistical setup, how often do we want to meet? What do we want to talk about? Try to stick to your schedule. It's really helpful if you give a heads up if you can't make the meeting. Mentors, it's helpful to send a reminder email to your mentees. So if you're meeting once a month, that's a long time between meetings. Maybe send an email a couple days prior to remind them. It's also helpful to make progress toward one of your goals. So an example of this would be talking about your resume with your mentor, or thinking about cover letters or looking through job applications together. Just whatever your goals are, make sure that you're working toward those in a tangible way and you're talking about those goals and checking in with each other throughout the relationship to make sure that expectations are being met and things are feeling productive is always helpful. And toward the end of the cohort, our goal is that you have accomplished one of those goals that you set out at the beginning, and you've developed communication methods post-program, whether that be connecting on LinkedIn or other social media, or just making a point to email them after a few months to check in again. And also, it's very important to thank each other for your time and effort. This is a voluntary thing, so be appreciative of each other, and that goes a long way. Next slide, please. And so here are some keys to a successful relationship that Hannah's going to talk about.
Great, thanks, Sydney. So we do have a couple of tips and tricks to make this successful for you. And then there's also some resources towards the end, and you'll have the opportunity to ask questions if you haven't in the chat. The first thing that's really important with mentorship is to communicate clearly and consistently. It's only a 4-month program, so you can either squeeze a lot into those 4 months or only meet 2 or 3 times. We recommend that you don't let too much time pass in between communication, since then the relationship tends to fizzle out after a while. This program is meant to be supportive. You're welcome to share your thoughts and feedback with your mentor or mentee openly, but do so in a respectful manner and make sure that your feedback is coming across in the way that you'd like it to. And with that, also keep in mind that your mentee or mentor might have a different preferred communication style than you, and that's something to take into consideration and meet each other where you're at. So if someone prefers email where another prefers video calls, you might do one of each month, so that you're both getting out of the relationship what you need. Next, you want to actively participate. When you do meet with your mentor or mentee or chat with them, you want to make sure that you have your thoughts and questions ready to go prior to the meeting and come prepared to discuss so that you can have those meaningful conversations that this program is all about. It's really helpful to set these expectations ahead of time, even in your introductory email or meeting. I met with my mentee last week, and it was great to be like, okay, by the next meeting, can you have these questions ready? And I'll have this ready for you so that we're on the same page of what to expect going forward. That kind of leads into the define expectations and responsibilities. Make sure that you're on the same page about what is feasible to accomplish throughout the relationship, and then work together to create a plan to do so. So like Sydney said, that's great in the first 1 or 2 weeks to set out that plan and know what you're going to be talking about and accomplishing over the next 4 months, since it is a condensed time period. You might also want to review these expectations, since a lot can be in flux during that time. And maybe you started out wanting to do resume work, and then as you're getting through it, your priorities are shifting and you just like more general advice on networking. And that's totally okay. So make sure that is defined clearly and you can adjust the timeline as needed and expectations as needed. Next, this is a great opportunity for you to be innovative in your mentoring relationship. If you're a mentee, there might be a cool GIS related project that you need help accomplishing from your mentor. And this is a great way to make it a little bit more of a choose your own adventure relationship than just doing resume or networking work. And you can hone in on something more specific to what you're looking for. Mentors, is there something unique that you specialize in that you can teach your mentees? If you have a really niche job or a really niche skill set, that's something that you can talk about and make your relationship a little bit more innovative. Next, we do have a massive URISA network of mentees, so take advantage of that, use it to network and connect with others in the industry. And most of all, we want this to be fun for everyone involved. It should be valuable and meaningful, but also you shouldn't dread going to your meetings and talking to your mentee or mentor every week or every month. 2 of our frequently asked questions. The first one is, what if your mentor or mentee has not communicated with you in a long time? The first step is to reach out to them and check in. And if you don't hear anything back, you can reach out to the Vanguard cabinet. You can send an email to our mentoring team. The email is mentoring@urisa.org, which we'll have on a slide later. But then we can reach out to your mentee or mentor and make sure that everything's okay. And if necessary, we'll prioritize you in the next cohort to be rematched with a different person. And then second, how do you decide what you want to work on? This is completely up to you, and it's really customized to what both the mentee and the mentor are bringing to the relationship. So it's something that I think you'll figure out together in the first 2 meetings, but we do have resources available if you're completely stuck and have no idea what you want to talk about. If you have any other questions, we can answer them at the end of the meeting or at the end of the presentation or in the chat. As a part of the mentoring network, we do have a hub site for you, sample activities, and a LinkedIn group, which I'll go over. This is our mentoring network hub. You can find it with the link right here, or if you just Google URISA mentoring network, I believe this is the first thing that pops up. On this page, we do have information about what the mentoring network is, as well as a tab with resources up at the top and some other frequently asked questions for you to reference as you go through the process. Looking at that resources tab, we do have monthly activities and just a general mentoring guide of what the network is. Feel free to utilize these resources if this is your first time, if this is your 100th time as a mentor. It's a great refresher, and it can give you an idea of where to start. So you can see over here, like we have a sample initial meeting 1, and it's your introduction and the kinds of questions you should be asking in that meeting. And then month 2, we give a little bit more guidance on that. So feel free to check that out on our Mentoring Network hub. And then everyone should have been added to the LinkedIn group by now. If you haven't, look it up and join. We have over 400 members and we're growing with every cohort. And this is a great place to ask questions. People post their success stories and just have general conversation about mentoring and GIS as a whole. So if you're ever stuck with your mentee or mentor and don't know what advice to give them or where to go next, this is a great place to post questions and get feedback from hundreds of other people in the community. This is all of our contact information. It's our email, LinkedIn, and the website, the hub that I was just talking about. So feel free to take a photo of this slide. It's super helpful to have handy so you know how to contact us. And we're always open for suggestions on how to improve the mentoring program. Any other comments or questions you may have, feel free to reach out at any time. I'll leave this here for a second for everyone to take a photo, but if anyone has any questions, now is a great time to ask.
Hey, Hannah, I have a question. This is Tim.
Hi, Tim.
So if you are a mentee, do you automatically graduate to mentor after you've gone through the program, or can you be a mentee again? What is the advice for people that are just beginning the program?
You are welcome to be a mentee again. You can be a mentee as many times as you would like, but after you graduate the program, we do encourage mentees to become mentors. Even if you think you have nothing to share, there's always some sort of expertise that you have that's valuable in helping other people, whether you're fresh in your career and can help somebody who's in college, or somebody who's looking to switch into GIS. I think after going through this program, everyone has valuable insights that can be shared as a mentor. So we do encourage mentees to apply as mentors for the following cohort or whenever they feel comfortable.
Yeah, thank you.
And if anyone has a question that comes up after the meeting, feel free to email us at mentoring@urisa.org. That is the easiest way to get in touch with us, and we check that email pretty regularly, so it's always helpful to think about it a little bit before you reach out if you need to.
Yeah. In the meantime, I do see that we've got a couple returning mentors in the call, which is fantastic. So just wanted to open it up as well to any returning mentors. If you guys wanted to provide some insights that maybe Sydney or Hannah didn't cover that have been really helpful for you to share with new mentors or mentees on your experiences and whatnot. This is kind of an open opportunity for us to have kind of a fun discussion. So if you have any comments, now is a great time as well. And you know what, I'll go on ahead and go myself because I am one of those returning mentors. So one of the big things that I've done that I think has been really helpful is in that second or third call to really kind of outline specifically what things we'd like to accomplish by what date. And come up almost like approach it a little bit as like a project. So one of the big things that I have a lot of my mentees work on, especially if they're not sure what to work on, is start building a GIS portfolio. I think that's a great way to stand out. And so one of the things that I like to do with the mentees that I work with is come up with, okay, by month 1, let's have a Wix site up and running. By month 2, let's have an About Me page. By month 3, let's start putting in a couple of GIS projects. And by month 4, by the end of the cohort, let's have something really polished that would be, great to send out on a resume or job application or just to have in general. So having kind of specific sub goals within the larger objective is something that's been really helpful for me. So that way it doesn't seem super overwhelming, right? Like building a portfolio can be really daunting, especially when you're new in the industry and just getting started out. And so kind of breaking it up into smaller bits has been really helpful for me and the mentees that I've worked with. So
Yeah, I fully agree with Ethan. And to touch on that, one thing that I've done with my mentees is as we talk through our goals, I'll write out an outline of them and I'll email that to my mentees to look back on. So that way we both have a record of what we've talked about, especially if you're only meeting once a month, or if you have multiple mentees, things can get a little confusing. And so that helps to keep it clear for everyone involved. But I really like Ethan's framework with the portfolio.
And this is Tim again. I think I've been part of the program since its beginning. I think it's fantastic. And I think I'm one of those that Anna mentioned that have like a special skill or like I what I work on with the mentee is like between each time we meet, it's not homework, it's just try this. Like I met with my new mentee this week, and it just works out for my schedule. We're not going to get a chance to meet for like 2 more weeks or 3 weeks. It's going to be later next month. And so we just had a little special. We're talking about distractions and how often you get distracted in the week, and she's going to track that for the next 3 weeks so we can talk about it, or their patterns, things like that. So it's nice to, like, if you have a relationship with a mentee and if you're comfortable, then try a few things, and then it gives, as time goes by, you get a chance. That's something to talk about. Like, what did we discover when you did this? So it's not as, it doesn't end as like a portfolio like Ethan was talking about, but at least it's maybe a technique that can be used, hopefully beyond the mentorship program.
I can go ahead and share some tips. I'm Kendall. I'm also a mentor and the chair of the URISA Mentoring Network. I've had the privilege of mentoring about a dozen people over the last few years. One thing I would encourage mentees to do is be proactive about this process. Take the initiative to schedule meetings, take the initiative to reach out via email, and take the initiative to send a summary of your meeting notes or goals for the next month. You're taking your career into your own hands and your goals, and you should do the same throughout this mentorship process. As far as mentors go, some really awesome activities I've done with my mentees include how to apply for the GISP certification. I've asked mentees to tell me or send me links to a job they are applying for and creating a mock interview based off of the description of that job. We've also talked about educational choices. A lot of people look at the early GIS career stages and ask, should I go to grad school? Should I get a certificate? And it's very subjective, but walking through that process can be really helpful as well. Great presentation, guys. And like Sydney and Hannah said, we're here if you need help or resources via email.
Does anybody else have anything they want to share? If you've been a mentor, or questions if this is your first time?
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My only question is, when can we start?
As
And
oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, I'm looking forward to getting started, and I have a lot of good ideas I'd like to share and explore with my mentor. So I was also wondering if if we completed a project, where would be the best place to put that project? You know, where could we present it or, you know, store it so that way we can use it for our resume or an application or whatever?
Yeah, well, to answer your first question, you can start meeting with your mentor as soon as you'd like. This would be a great time to reach out and set up a meeting in this first week or two to get connected. To answer your second question, we encourage you, once you complete the project, if you want to share it on the LinkedIn mentoring group, that's a great place to do so and celebrate your success with the project. We also are thinking of doing cohort closeout meetings at the end where you could have the opportunity to present on the project that you were working on and share it with the rest of the network. But other than that, feel free to post it on your own LinkedIn and share it with your network and others in the mentoring network.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, if there aren't any more questions, we can go ahead and wrap up early. It goes without saying that this is going to be a great cohort. We've really appreciated everyone joining us tonight and everyone's enthusiasm and excitement about it. And don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns or comments or just anything along the way. And keep an eye out for the closeout meeting information. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thanks.